we want to start on the new topic. So far, we have been doing on the basic Buddhism is to help the young vulnerables to go attend my university, all right? So now, since I think Brother Ong request, but he's not here today, so I think some of you also interested in this topic about Srimaga. And as usual, I will make it as a discussion style, because if not, I just teach, and then I have no response for you all. Sometimes it's actually not easy. It's like talking to myself. And also, I noticed that if you just listen without participation, it's like you are watching a TV. So it's also very boring for you all. All right. So I will just get some information from the notes and then from the book, and then I will extract it because there are 50 pages. It's impossible to cover all the 50 pages in one session. So what we do is I already take out some important information from the notes. All right. So I will share to you later, but I will read or some of you will read together and then like basic Buddhism, and then we'll discuss what is the important point. And today is the first class, so it's very important for you all to get to know who is this person called Buddhaghosa. All right, he's the author, and who is he? Where is he from? Or we should use past tense since he already passed away. All right, and then the book called Visuddhimagga, and what is the source and why is it very important, and what's the controversial point, because like Myanmar people mostly accept this book, but some of the Thai monks would not accept this book, right? Okay, so we shall start. So before I share my screen, so maybe we can just have some feedback from some of you. How many of you have heard the books Visuddhimagga or Path of Purification? Okay, you can just raise your finger or okay, one, or just okay, only Melinda. Who else besides Melinda? Okay, brother Cole, right? Simin also. All right. Now, Simin, from your, can you tell me what you know about this book first? Simin, yes. Cannot hear you, Simin. Yes. You need to unmute Simin.
Hello. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So I learned in Mandarin both Abhidharma and this book, and I found out that this book is like the path towards the Nibbana. So it has a very detail on talking about the path compared to previously when I was in university. I will learn more on the Mahayana Buddhism. Then we will figure out like in a certain stage, like maybe during the meditation, how from a meditation suddenly you attain enlightenment. So there is like something cannot be not being explained in detail how it works, but then you will know that one day it will work. And then somehow,
right. For example, you say like when you heard the sutta, it's talking about somebody become enlightened, but you cannot see how they become enlightened, right?
yes, but
Something like
somehow
that.
it will be explained in this Visuddhimagga.
Okay.
And
All right.
from here, there's a lot of detailed explanation actually are from Abhidharma.
Okay. Yes.
So
Okay.
you have to have some basic idea on the keyword that what is the definition from Abhidharma. Then when you learn this, it will be like
Okay.
easier way, like something like that.
Okay. Good. How about Brother Ko? All right. You heard about this Visuddhimagga, right? Can you give us some feedback or your knowledge about what is Visuddhimagga? Yes.
Me, I haven't read it, but when we study Abhidharma, CMA, Comprehensive Manual of Abhidharma, as the base book, and then normally they say if we want to further our study, we have to go through or rather study Visuddhimagga as one of the other books, follow up after the CMA. But I haven't got a chance to read it. So I'm not too sure, but about the author Buddhaghosa, it has been mentioned many times. We do come across his name quite frequent.
Yeah. Okay.
But not much of haven't got the time to read up.
Okay. Good. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we will just go through since you all, there's been only 3 of you know about this. So the other never really come across this book in detail. All right, so actually before I start, one thing about this Buddha Gosa, he's very famous. Out of the Tipitaka, the books, you can say about 10 plus commentaries is written under his name. Okay. But normally it's like one commentary is written by one venerable, one Thera. But under him, there are 10 or I think 15 plus, more than that. So his name is Buddha Gosa, voice of the Buddha. And it's so famous that some people even doubt whether he really exists. Because it's quite difficult for even one person compile. When we say the Atakata commentary is like they give comments or more explanation of for the sutta. So to come out one book, it requires time and effort. And how come this person called Buddha Gosa can come out as more and 10? So people say maybe this Buddha Gosa is not a real person. These books are put under his name. Okay, but we will study according to this path of purification written by Nyanamoni. So I already show you the introduction, so you all can have a look later. I will already extract some important points. Okay, so we come to this book. Okay, I will do my sharing of screen. All right, so right now you all can see the screen, right? Okay, so this is called the Vishnumaga, the path of purification. So in this picture, you can see this represent the Buddha Gosa. He's actually at that time was quite young, and he said that he wrote the 3 books. The first book that he wrote, then hidden by Deva to test him. Then he rewrite the second time and third time. So when he submitted to the elders, they all find out all these 3 books are exactly the same. So it's quite interesting about this point. So this is called Visuddhi Magga, right? Visuddhi is a purification, Magga is the path. Now, there's also another book, all right? So, okay. So this book is called, okay, let's go here. This another book is called Vimutti Magga. You notice that just now is Visuddhi Magga. It's called Vimutti Magga, finish with Magga. Just now is the path of purification. Now is the path of freedom, Vimutti Magga. So this book, in terms of contents, are very, very similar, all right? But this book is different. It's actually translated from Chinese because the original Pali is lost. So when these vulnerable, I think they were in Japan or something like that. So they come across this book. So they, with the help of the local people, they translate from the Chinese back to the English because the original Pali is lost. Okay. So it's supposed to be a famous monk, but this is on the 1st century, right? 1st century. The original text Pali is no longer exists. So this book you also should remember. So I put here at the end. Okay. Right. This one is another book, Vimutti Magga. Right. Okay. So now we go back to this one. Visuddhi Purification. So actually this book is called Visuddhi Magga. The English translator now is a Bhikkhu Nyanamoni, who translate the book called The Path of Purification. It's the English translation. But there's another translator, which is the Upe Mountain. He's in Myanmar. He's one of the Pali teacher, and he's translated this book called I think the way or the path, maybe the path of purity. Okay, so it's different title, but it's same content. And the author is supposed to be Bhadanta Acharya. So we call it Bhadanta Acharya means teacher, venerable teacher, Buddha Gosa, voice of the Buddha, supposed to be India. But the place of birth is actually quite unconfirmed because there are different sources, so we don't know. And he said that he come to this Mahavihara, great monastery at the Anuradhapura, Sri Lanka. So the time is 5th century, all right? Just now, if you notice that Vimutti Magga, this is just now we call it this. Vimutti Magga is at supposed to be at 1st century. So this book actually different is about 400 years, but their contents are quite same. All right. So, okay, Visuddhimagga here rendered path of purification. I extract this from the introduction. It's perhaps unique in the literature of the world. It systematically summarizes and interprets the teaching of the Buddha contained in Pali Tipitaka. Right. Pali Tipitaka is now recognized in Europe as the most oldest and authentic record of the Buddha's word. Right. But this one is called this book with Visuddhimagga is non-canonical, right? So it also used the Abhidhamma method. The main thing is set out the detailed practical instruction for purification of the mind, right? Now, I think you hear so far, we know that it summarized the Tipitaka. It is not part of the Tipitaka, it's not part of the canon, and you also use Abhidhamma. So we have few points here. But the main important thing, it is a practical instruction, right? Now, where can you find this book? All right, so we go for this. All right. Okay, I will show you this dictionary because it's very helpful for me. Now, we call it Pali Canon, all right? The first one we call it Mula Pali. Mula Pali is the one that original Pali. So this is a Vinaya, the rules and discipline for Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni. Sutta Pitaka is the with the other types of the different types of discourses, all right? And this is the Abhidhamma Pitaka. So you got the three, we call it the three basket, Vinaya, Sutta, Abhidhamma, right? It's three. So this contain the original words of the Buddha and his disciple. Now, Atthakatha. The meaning of Atthakatha means commentary. So this is not the Buddha's word, but it's the commentary of somebody who write more explanation for the above. For example, this Sutta Pitaka, you have the long length discourse become Nikaya. So under the same Sutta Pitaka, you have the also long length discourse, but this is called Atthakatha. The commentary, this one, the commentary to this one, right? So it's like this one, explain this one. So this commentary, it explain the, we call it Mula. Mula means the original Pali, all right? Original Pali. So the commentary, Atthakatha, explain the original Pali. Okay. So you cannot find here also the Visuddhimagga. So for Abhidhamma Pitaka, you also got the Abhidhamma Pitaka Atthakatha, right? So you can see here, right? So they are here, and then this is commentary. You also cannot find the Visuddhimagga here. Tika, what is Tika? Tika is sub-commentary, all right? This is commentary, Atthakatha. Tika is sub-commentary. Sub-commentary means it explains the commentary, right? So like Atthakatha explain this one. So Tika explain this commentary. So we call it sub-commentary. So you have the sub-commentary, right? So which explain the commentary. Sometimes we have something we call sub-commentary, right? Now, here you also cannot find the Visuddhimagga. So where is it? Now you can find it. So Visuddhimagga is Anya, means other, right? So let me clear the screen first. So this Visuddhimagga is not in the original Pali, it's not in the commentary, it's not in the sub-commentary, it's under this Anya, means others. So including here, you have some like the grammar book, Vyakarana, and then the something to do with Sinhalese, the book, Lady, the one of the Sayadaw here, right? So there are different books here. So in Visuddhimagga, all right, this is Wismaga part 1, part 2, and you got the Mahatika, right? The sub-commentary for it. So all these are in Pali. Okay, all these in Pali. So Wismaga actually is written in Pali by Buddhaghosa. You can see all this Pali. And then the first sentence is this one. You find it in the English, the translation where they translate this one. The very first sentence. So later we'll go through this. All right. So now you know the place. Okay. So it's not in the Mula original. It's not in the commentary. It's not in the sub-commentary. It's considered as Anya, other. So you can say it's a commentary for Tipitaka. Okay. So far, any question? If not, I'll continue. Okay. So you know the place already. All right. So that's why it says it's non-canonical. And it has Abhidhamma because in Vishnumaga you find a lot of Abhidhamma points. Now, he said means the Buddhaghosa. He said he learned the three Sinhalese commentaries, the Maha Atthakatha, Maha Pachari, Kundari from the famed elder known as Buddhamita, who was an expert in the Vinaya, right? So that means that from here you can see that he didn't say that he write himself. He said that he actually learned, he get the knowledge from somebody else, right? So that means that Buddha Gosa obtain knowledge from other elders, before him. So that's important because when we say Theravada means that you must learn from the teacher. So you just pass on the knowledge. Okay. Now, this according to the one in the book. He said, now I should take the commentary whose object to clarify the meaning and the subtle and most excellent long collection Dika Nikaya, said detailed by the Buddha in slide like the Sariputra and the other expounders of discourses and sutta, the commentary, all right? So this means that he is taking out the information from these three commentary, Maha Atthakatha, Mahapachari, and Kundari. So this commentary, so it was chanted at the first council and rechanted at the third council. And it was brought to Sinhala, Sri Lanka by the Arahan Mahinda and rendered into Sinhala tongue for the benefits of the islanders. And from that commentary, I shall remove the Sinhala tongue and replace it by the graceful language that conforms with the scripture and purified and free from laws. This means that he will translate from Sinhala and convert it to the Pali. Okay, so this means that this commentary, according to what it say, the source has the source from the first Buddhist council. So this means that it claimed that from the very, very beginning, right, at the Buddha's time. Okay, then he says something, and then he relying on the teaching of the dwellers at Gap Monastery, because at that time he was at this Mahavihara, great monastery. So of course there are many learned monks. So he depend on them, means that he follow their guidelines also. Okay, now there are some comments from other people. Some people, like modern critics, have reproached him with a lack of originality, because that means that they believe that he just copy from other commentator. So he does not really work on his own idea. But what he say is actually, sorry, he try not to put his own viewpoint or standpoint, right? So it means that he want to be faithful to the elders' teaching. Okay, now, so far we don't know who is he, right? So far we only know that he stayed in Mahavihara, right? And then maybe he come from India, but we still don't know where is the place of birth. But we know the Mahavihara is a existing in history, because anybody go to Sri Lanka, you can study the history there, and it exists about 5th century during the King Mahanama. So we know the place, but we still don't know where is he from. So there are different answers. This means that there are different sources. So another background story from Chula Wangsa. All right. So where is this Chula Wangsa? Okay. So when you come to this, also under the Anya, so Wangsa is lineage, right? So we have the Great Lineage is another book. Sasana Wangsa is another book. Chula Ganda Wangsa is this one, all right? So it's a book that explains the history of Mahawangsa is Sri Lanka, all right? So this is also about Sri Lanka. So from this book, so let's say we open this book and let's see if we type something Buddha Gosa. Okay, we do a search there and you can find. You know, it was talking about somebody called Maha. Sometimes his name is also called Maha Buddha Gosa, right? He write the Wisdom Maga, right? So it's Atthagata and so on. So from this book, we also get to know about his background. So according to this book, there was a Brahman student who was born near the site of the enlightenment tree. That's meaning of Bodh He took the going forth and he was interested in the system. He learned the three Pitakas, after which he believed is the only one way. Because his speech, Gosa, was profound, voice was deep, just like of the enlightened one Buddha. They call him Buddha Gosa. So that's very important. Okay. So that like the enlightened one, he might be voiced over the surface of the earth. Right? Okay, now at that time there's another elder Revata, so that okay. Here only the text has been preserved, but here Revata is trying to tell him that there are some Pali texts there, but there's no commentary. All right. So there are no commentary here, but the Sinhalese commentary still exists, which is pure, like the one that mentioned just now. According to that, he said that the commentary rechanted and chanted from the first, second to third Buddhist council and brought to the Sinhala island by the Arahan Mahinda. Right? So it was this commentary they believe is already in Sri Lanka. And since Buddha Gosa was at India, right? And under the Redawanta tell him that, okay? So right? So I tell him that there's a Sinhalese commentary there, so which is pure. So it was rendered to Sinhalese by the learned Mahinda. You know, you all know the Arahan Mahinda, right? They went to Sri Lanka for the propagation, right? So this commentary is actually handled by the Third Buddhist Council as sort of the enlightened one. So the elder Lewata asked him to go from the India to Sri Lanka. After you learn it, all right, ask him to translate it into the language of Maganda. Translate Maganda means that the language of Pali. So it will bring the benefits to the whole world. So when this was said, this means that the elder Rewata told him about this. So the Buddha Gosa made his mind to set up, right? So he came to this Sri Lanka. He stayed at the great monastery, the Mahavihara, right? Then under the Sangha Pala, okay. So at that time, he want them to have all the books, he want to make a commentary, right? But the community, that's mean the Sangha, do not believe him yet because they don't know who was he. So they test him, give him the two standards, right? And ask him to write a book. Okay, now what is these two standards? So these two standards is the one that show in the beginning, all right? So the community means that the Sangha, they actually try to test his ability, whether he's sincere enough, want to translate the commentary from the Sinhalese to Pali. So they make a question for him. We will discuss this question and then ask him based on this question, write the book. So the whole book of Visuddhimagga is based on this question. All right. So later we come to this part again. What is the question? Okay. So actually, you can see the Visuddhimagga is really a testing. It's a test book for him to make sure that he really can write properly. All right. So on this Visuddhimagga, so he summarized the three Pitakas together with commentary. And so this is called the Path of Purification, the Visuddhimagga. Right. So he read it. Right. So he began to read it. Okay. So it's according to the deities, they purposely hide the book. So it's actually interesting. They hide the book, so he prepared second time, and they hide it third time. So when the book was brought for the third time, and then the gods replaced with two other copies. So when the community of monks, the bhikkhu, they read out the three copies, they find out there are no difference between them in the chapter, in the meaning, the order, means everything is quite same. Right? So the community, they are very happy with him, and they said, oh, surely this is the Bodhisattva Metteyya, right? So they gave him the books of the Tipitaka with the commentary. So means that after they believe in him, so they give him all the books. He started to translate the Sinhalese commentary to the Maganda, the Pali text, for the purpose of all beings. Okay, so you see this photo. So this photo, last time when I study, I also didn't notice it. Okay, so it's interesting. This photo, it said that the elders, the Sangha is test him. So he produced his three books, the Visuddhimagga, three times, because the Deva hide two books, all right? Two version, exact version, right? Okay, up to this point, any question? Okay.
Saji.
Yes, Brother
So
Ko.
the source of history is only from the Sri Lanka history lah.
Yes.
There's no other sources ah.
Because this thing happened how many years ago? You see?
Yeah, so long ago.
500. So how many years ago? Up to now, how many years already?
For 21st, 16th
1,000,
century, 16th century.
1,500, right? Or 1,500. So 1,500, where can you find the source? Don't even say, even things happen in the previous year, also not easy to find. And so far we can find in this, okay, this one, Mahavamsa. He record the story of, I think also India, right? This one also Sasana Vamsa, including also. And then Chula Vamsa. So when they do a search, they can find like the Buddha Gosa. All right. And this one thing. And later there's another book. All right. But up to this one, this is considered quite. And there's another one, we call it the Dipa Vamsa. Right. So there's another book. Yes, Sister Ong. Yes.
Yes, Saji. May I ask a question? Regarding this Visuddhimagga, this is like way the post. Okay, this is way after Buddha. I on video. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
It's way after Buddha's time. So many of them has commented that should we just follow Buddha's suttas, or should we also follow Visuddhimagga for the path to liberation?
So now so far up to this history, you notice that we don't even know where is he, right? Okay, we only know that he write the book according to the Sinhalese commentary, and which is brought from the Arahan Mahinda, right? So it's from the first, second Buddhist council. It's very, very long time. All these are just history. Okay, so we don't know how much is true or how much is just a fiction. But what we can do, let's say, for example, like just now Simeo always say, when you read the sutta, just talk about the monks are enlightened. How do they enlighten? When you read the sutta, okay, after they meditate, they meditate, then suddenly, boom, they become enlightened. So what's the process of enlightenment, right? Okay, so then we need to find some guidance, right? So Visuddhimagga is considered one of the quite, I would say maybe quite accepted book in Myanmar. Myanmar actually is quite accepted, yeah, but not in the Thai, or maybe I'm not so sure about Sri Lanka. But what we can do is we examine the content. Because it's already say this Visuddhimagga, it is a commentary for the whole Tipitaka. So you'll find a lot of quotation, a lot of reference, that it quote from the Samyutta Nikaya and then from the Digha Nikaya, a lot of quotation there, and he gave a lot of explanation. But also just now he said he learned from elders, from other the three commentary, and he tried to not put his own idea, right? Okay, so that's why we take this opportunity, since it's a quite good time. We will learn it. Of course, it's impossible for me to follow all the chapters, but we take the essence. Actually, I know there's another monk is teaching, right? The Paao, the Myanmar monk is teaching at the Paao, Singapore. Yeah, he's actually doing quite detailed, right? With the Pali, with the English, with the Chinese translation. Okay. But what we can do, we study in our own way, lah, and we make it as a discussion base. Because I told you all I prefer discussion. Because sometimes the first time when I start to teach Zoom for the Sleman Buddhist Society, I noticed it's quite a lonely feeling, you know. It's basically I'm like talking to myself. So that's why I open this as a discussion kind of things. So when I show something, so you all, if you need to interrupt, you can interrupt. All right.
Thank you. Thank
so
you, Sai.
yeah, so already say we will study the content and you will decide yourself, because so far I show you the history, because history is very important. Like when we learn the Abhidhamma, who is teaching the Abhidhamma? Sariputra, right? So, but how many sources are saying that the Sariputra is the one that teach Abhidhamma? Okay, all right. So we go back to the book. Okay, so this is all the source, the history. All right, Wangsa means the lineage. All right. Okay, let me go through it. So far we know that maybe he's from India, right? So we don't know actually. All these are just cannot be confirmed. So it's from the Chula Wangsa. Okay, that's another book, all right? This is another book. Okay, according to Yana Moli, he find out this book. But this book is actually composed in Myanmar, but it's 15th century. It's quite late. It's later work compared to Chula Wangsa. So it's quite late one, all right? It's not it may be more like kind of like fiction or novel. Okay, now it actually come up to this point, right? We already covered the history, so we need to know why he need to write this one. Maybe there's a need to rehabilitation, means that okay, why? Because at that time you can see it's already many years after the Buddha passed away, and there will be some problem in the Sangha, and also with some question about the Pali. So that's why he need to kind of like modernize or try to gather all the facts together, right? And also, it's not easy to do this because he need to study the whole Tipitaka and then with other commentary. So he need to have a very outstanding qualities, right? He must have an accuracy and then a mental orderliness, insight, because he need to read the whole Tipitaka. Tipitaka is actually a lot of things to read. It's not easy to read also, okay? And he need to set aside on opinion also. Okay. Now, beside this Visuddhimagga, this Vimuttimagga, this one is actually interesting also. It's very similar to Visuddhimagga, but it only exists in the Chinese translation, 6th century, Common Era. It's supposed to be written in Pali, but it's already lost. So the one you see here, you can find on the internet. Okay. So this one you can find on the internet, all right. This is the one translated from the Chinese back to the English, right? It's supposed to be written by Upatissa on the 1st century and translated by two Theravada monks, right? So this is also interesting. Actually, I find this book actually they say it's actually easier to read. So you can try the Vimuttimagga also. So called the Path of Freedom Vimuttimagga. All right. Okay. So both books have the same source, right? Because they're coming from the same group of elders, Theravada, and then from the same commentaries, they have the same source. Now we need to go for the contents of Visuddhimagga, right? So what is it? Why somebody say is probably best regarded as a detailed manual for meditation masters as a work of reference. It comprises essential facts from Tipitaka and add more explanation to it. This is important. It's a commentary work, right? Because you already say it follow the commentary, three commentary, right, for other sources. So it does not say it's a sutta, it's just a commentary, but it's a non-canonical work. Now, okay, we just briefly look at you have few chapters here. Chapter 1 and 2 deal with the sila, morality, virtue as a practice is strength. So 3 to this how many? 11. Discuss the process of concentration. So now, okay, this talking about meditation, samadhi, samatha, and how to attain it by 40 meditation, 40 samatha practice. I think in the basic Buddhism, we already talked about 40 samatha in a brief. Now on the 12 to 13, so how you get the concentration fully developed without the insight, this means the concentration without the vipassana. And then the 14 to 17 is on understanding. Understanding here is talking about wisdom or knowledge. Then the others will be practical and then meditation experience and so on. And then the last few chapters will be on enlightenment. Then you'll see. Now there's on this chapter, you're talking about how people gain enlightenment. How do they attain the 4 successive supramundane paths? So it's very interesting from this, all the chapters, it guide you all the way from samatha to vipassana to the knowledge, finally to the maggaphala, right? Now, as I said, earlier the community of Sangha who don't believe him, who didn't believe him, asked him to write a book. So asked him to write a book. They asked him to put him a questions, right? Now, what is the question they asked? This is the one. This is the question they asked him and Buddhaghosa. His answer is here. So we look at the question here. Ato jata bahi jata jataya jatita paja. Tam tang gotama puchami. Ko imam vijataye jatanti. This is from the Samyutta Nikaya, right? So the inner tangle and outside tangle, this generation is entangled in a tangle. So I ask of Gautama this question, who succeeds in this entangling this tangle? So this question actually not easy because there's a lot of kind, right? You can hear tangle, tangle. You can see here jata, 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 jati, paja. It's not easy. So it's asked by a Deva, right? And why I address the Buddha as Gautama? Because he's not a Buddhist disciple. Okay, Tam Tang Gautama. It's a vocative case here. Since he's not a Buddha disciple, that's why he just addressed the Buddha by his name. So the elders, the committee member, the Sangha, said this question to Buddhaghosa and he started to answer this one, right? Sile patithaya naro sampanyo chitam panyacha baweyam atapi nipako biku so imam vijataye jatanti, also from the Samyutta Nikaya. When a wise man established well in virtue, developed consciousness and understanding, then as a bhikkhu, ardent and sagacious, he succeed in disentangling this tangle. Right? So this is the answer given by the Buddhaghosa. And based on his answer, the whole book, based on this one, he write the Visuddhimagga, okay, based on the question above. And here he give the guidelines. For example, he will talk about morality, sila, okay. Then he talk about chittam, consciousness. Chittam here refer to the samadhi. And he talk about how should one develop panya, understanding, okay. So based on this book, he talk about sila, morality. Then he also talk about chitta. Chitta means consciousness, which is actually talking about develop, or chitta means samadhi or samatha here. Then he talked about understanding, panya. So this refers to the insight meditation, vipassana. Okay. Then he talked about the criteria for of a meditator, like ardent, sagacious, all right? And then finally he will disentangling, okay? So it's talking about from the defilement, right? So based on this answer, he started to write the Visuddhimagga book, right? So you can find these chapters on the morality, on the consciousness, on the samadhi, on the knowledge, on the different types of good factors for the meditator, and finally how one gain enlightenment, right? So you can find this book, he leads the path from the very basic things on the morality, okay, first and second chapter morality, then on the concentration, samatha, samadhi, then about insight, and on the wisdom, panya, vipassana, and after that, this one. So this book covers everything from very simple thing that you can practice day-to-day morality to the final one. Okay, any question up to here? Okay, Brother Ong, you're here, right?
I'm just checking the Samyutta Nikaya, look for the.
Sorry?
No, I'm just checking the Samyutta Nikaya.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So now, okay, so we already go through the history, some of the history, and we still come back to this one. We talk about Buddhaghosa, right? He was actually very young at the time, maybe 20 plus. We don't know exact year, so it's happened so many years already, and it's supposed to from India. And then the Mahavihara is where he go from India. He go to Sri Lanka, and at that time, 5th century. Yes, Brother Ko. Yes.
Yes, I agree. That means at the young age, Venerable Buddhaghosa has actually full grasp of the Dharma already.
Yes,
Oh.
sure. Yes.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to answer those questions. And then after that, only he writes the Visuddhimagga.
That's why
That means
the
he's very
elders,
clear.
yes, that's why the elders praise him as he might be the Bodhisattva Maitreya, right?
Oh.
Why they praise him so much?
Yes.
And he's you must know that at the time he was a foreigner all the way from India to the Mahavihara. So nobody know him, right? So of course they were suspect. What's the purpose of him wanting to write something about the Buddha, wanting to get the commentary from the Sinhalese brought by the Arahan Mahinda, and then why he wanted. So they suspect him. But after he write properly all the Visuddhimagga, like they give him a question, right? Based on that question, do you think you can answer that question? Not easy, right? We say, oh, this one. The question actually is not easy to answer also, because it's kind of like puzzle, not clear at all. So he managed to write something that to convince them that, okay, he's really sincere, wanting to bring back the teaching of the Buddha with the commentary, and that's why he write in Pali. Because at that time, the Pali already in Sinhalese, because the commentary when they say, the Buddha teaching is in Pali, right? But when they go to different country, they will be written by the elder in the local language. Like in the Myanmar, there's a lot of Atthakatha written in the Burmese, right? So in Thai also, they have their own commentary written in their language. So at that time, they already have the commentary written in Sinhalese. So he need to brought back because the original Pali is not there. And the teacher Rewata asked him to brought back. Okay. So he need to convince them. That's why the purpose of this Visuddhimagga actually is to convince. And according to what they say, the Dewa purposely hide 2 times and to finally show them the 3 books written by him are same, exactly the same. That's why they place him as a matriarch. Of course, at that time he must have enough knowledge to convince them. Actually he was actually quite young. Because from the India, Bulgaria, all the way to Sri Lanka, at that time it's actually a long journey. Like the what Xuanzang Xuanzang, how many century? I think 6th century.
Almost, I think, yeah, six or seven.
6th century. But when Xuanzang he reached the Mahavihara, he also reached Mahavihara, he also reached the Bulgaria. And then I think another one is called I Ching, 3rd century, something like that. I Ching. So yes. So when Xuanzang reached there, so he stayed at that time in that side. Naranda? Is it Naranda?
Nalanda. He went to Nalanda.
Naranda. He never bring the Mahavihara.
I'm not too sure, but I think
Okay.
it was mentioned
Because
Nalanda.
He didn't go to Sri Lanka. He didn't go.
He didn't go to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So he went to the Nalanda only.
No, Xuanzang did tour India, but I don't think he said he saw the island, something like refer to Sri Lanka
Okay.
island.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not so sure about Xuanzang, but because I never studied, but we know that for those people who travel, when they reach the India or Sri Lanka, they also will study the local people, how they. So I remember one of the, I think should be Xuanzang, he read something at that time, maybe India, they already got the different section between the Mahayana and Theravada, different group already. Even at now, so that's why he said there's a need to purify the Pali, because even at the after first Buddhist council, second Buddhist council, third Buddhist council, they start to have some how you call it, division. Yeah. So that's why one of his purpose, he want to like gather the important point on the Tiptaka and like the commentary. All right. So later when we study this Visuddhimagga, you can judge yourself whether his work is really worthy of praise or not. Okay. Yes, Brother Ong, want to say something? Okay.
No, you just want the reference. It's Samyutta Nikaya 123.
Yeah, it's already showed just now.
There's those two standards, two verses.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, this one.
Tangle.
Yeah, all right. So based on this question, this inner tangle and outside tangle, this generation is entangled in a tangle. So I asked of Gautama this question, who succeeds is entangling this tangle? So any of you can answer this question. So if you can answer this question, you must be Buddha Gosa also. But Ong, can you answer this question?
Yeah, I could entangle myself first.
Okay. All right. So this is important. All right. Now this is the one I say I get from the. All right. So this is actually page 1. Okay. So I get from the introduction, right? From this part. Actually, now this is a PDF form. It's actually easier for us. Last time when we check, I have to check through the textbook, Okay, so when you study any book, it's good to read some of the things here, like printed edition, Sinhalese, Burmese,
cannot see your.
Oh, okay, sorry, sir. Yeah. Okay, so when you're reading any book, so good to read the information there. Like this book, Visuddhimagga, there are also some printed version is Burmese, Siamese, Latin, okay, Latin from the Palitic Society, 1950. In the Burmese script, it's this is actually quite long, 100 years already, okay? And then the English translation, all right, the one I say Pay Mountain in 1922. Also German translation, 1952. Sinhalese also 1953. So you can see how the Dhamma are translated interesting, in the around very early 1922, 1997, 1949, French 202, 208. And also like just now, this is another one where he showed the history about the Buddha Gosa. Okay. And Chula Wangsa. This is actually very interesting to book. It's talk about the Pali, the history of the Sri Lanka, and Mahavamsa also. I think Mahavamsa talk more about the India, something like that. So I never studied India, but you all can go and study yourself. Okay. Also, this is also interesting. Dipawangsa. This is very important. It's the one of the we call it the oldest book on the Sri Lanka at that time. So you can get lots of information from there. Okay. So this book has lots of reference. Okay. So because I also studied this book for my thesis. Okay. So this is a study of the king at that time. Because sometimes when we know which king, so it's easier. Because we know if the book mention about Mahanama, so we know the Mahanama is about the 412, 434. So then you roughly know the Buddhaghosa appear at this time because the king name was Mahanama mentioned in that time, right? So it's around this time. Now, Buddhaghosa has seems to be have written most of a lot of books, yeah. Okay. Okay, so we go to this. Okay, so I already extract some of the important points from this. How many? 50 pages, okay? So all these are 50 pages here. Now, I also told you that we should study the last part, the conclusion, all right? So we will go through it when we later have time. Okay, let's go for the ending part of this conclusion, all right? Okay, ending of this book in the Visuddhimagga, some of the Pali here. So Pali together with the Atthakatha commentary. So follow the lineage, Thera, elder, and these those elders who stay in the Mahavihara. So if we know the monastery called Mahavihara, how long it exists in the Sri Lanka history, so we know that. So at that time, the Buddhaghosa was around at that time, right? So Buddhaghosa, he write this book called Visuddhimagga. Okay, so this is the Pali, and this the English translation. So the path of purification, all right? So he want to write a commentary about on the Pali, the three Tipitaka with the commentary, right? He followed the lineage of the elders who dwell in the great monastery, right? So his name is called Buddhaghosa. And this another one exists on the Sinhalese, okay? So according to this Sinhalese text, he want to reborn in the Tawantisa. He want to see the Metteyya, the future Buddha. Maybe that's the aspiration of writing this book. Okay. And why the purpose he write this book? For gathering good people. Right? In the Pali text. He write this Visuddhimagga in Pali text. Okay. So we already go through the history. Okay. So far up to now, we know few points that he supposed to be from India. He purposely go to Sri Lanka because he want to get the ancient Sinhalese text which is lost in the Pali. So he want to translate it. So before he translate it, the people, the community of Sangha didn't believe him. So they want him to prove himself. So he write the Visuddhimagga. And why he can write it is not easy because he need to have the ability to write it. And his actually is a work, it's a commentarial work on the Tipitaka. Okay, because they asked him a question and he need to write, he summarized the Tipitaka with other commentary. Not only the Tipitaka, but it's also with other commentary. Okay, so his is not the Sutanda, he is not the Abhidhamma, he's also not Vinaya. So his book is called Anya, it's other book. All right, so that's why since it's not part of the canonical text, it's not part of the Tipitaka. That's why some of the like Thai tradition, they don't accept it as a Buddha's word. Because it's not really the Buddha's word. It's a commentary work. All right? Okay, so Sister Ong, KB, you understand now so far, right?
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
Sergi,
all right.
yes.
Okay, so now we know the history background. It's very important for us to know the history background, because if we don't know the history background, if people ask you this question, do you believe in Vishnumaga? Then you will say no. Why you say no? Because it's not the words of the Buddha and his disciple. But you must know that he based not on his own thinking, but based on the ancient commentary that brought in since the first, second, third Buddhist council through the Arahant Mahinda. Okay. All right. Now, since we're at time, okay, so we will go and study now.
Saiji.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember after the Asoka's sent the missionaries to Burma and Thailand. That was
9 missionary.
okay. So that was one of the missionaries there. Then subsequently also there's quite a few missionaries from Sri Lanka to Burma. So in the case of Burma Buddhist history, are there any sort of a recorded what do you call recorded history about all these missionaries that reached Burma? And then
yes. Yeah, also, but I don't read much because most of them is written in the Burmese. But they always have the relationship between Sri Lanka, the monks, they say borrow, right? Like the Sri Lanka, they when the Sangha is weak, so they borrow from Myanmar. That's why if you go to Sri Lanka, they have how many? The three group. One is the Sinhalese group, the Burmese group, Siam group. Yeah, Siam group. Yeah, there's a different lineage. Now actually in Myanmar, there's also some Sri Lanka, different place. Even Myanmar also got Nepal. You know, Nepal people stay in Myanmar for a long time also. Yeah. Okay. So when the people from Sri Lanka they come to Myanmar, they also brought their own book. Okay. But one thing about this book is actually accepted in Myanmar. And but outside those seems to base on this book a lot, right? Okay. All right. So what we do is we will study as much as we can. All right. Okay. So this means that I will guide you all, but you all need, if I tell you the which pages, you all need to study in advance. Okay. Now it's a very scary now. Okay. Okay, now we come to the title already. Okay, now you say the book is divided based on these questions. Okay, Sila, answered by the Buddha Gotama. When the wise man is narrow, wise is subtanyo, the wise man, establish patitaya, well in virtue, sila, locative case. Chittam, consciousness. Panya, understanding. Bhaveyam, develops. Bhikkhu, who is ardent means make effort here. Atati. Dipako, sagacious means wise. So,
excuse me, Sai. Cannot be not on the screen.
Sorry? Yeah, I'm sharing screen now.
Only saw part one, but you, Sila, not the.
Can you
see the title?
Okay. Sorry. I think the internet is slow. Let me. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Now it start to rain again. Where? Let me close the window. Okay, now you can see the screen, right? Okay. All right, now it's very important because the whole book is based on this one. So might as well we learn now. Sile in virtual locative case, Pattaya gerund case established well. Narrow. So it's a man here, but it's also talking about human, right? Narrow is a man. Sampanyo, wise. Sa is together, saha. Panyo means knowledge. So with knowledge means it's a wise. Chitam, consciousness. Panya, understanding. Baweyam, develops. Baweti, all right? So bhikkhu, the bhikkhu who is ardent, atapi. Ardent means have effort. Nipako with the pachati, the root, it means that the mind is wise, sagacious. So refer to this narrow, right? So narrow. So this same person, so this wise person, he, so imam, tangge, all right? Tangge. Vijateya. So jatam, right? So that's the answer here. So actually, the first thing that for this chapter is this sila. Okay. Right? It's a big book here. So they are totally how many pages? 700 pages. All right. So I mean, if you read yourself, it might take you a few months to. If you read in detail, of course, few months. So 700 pages basically divided into first part sila, second part concentration samadhi, understanding panya, third part. All right, understanding. Okay. Then I think that's all. Then other is the different type of vipassana knowledge. So first part is sila, then the samadhi, then the panya. So if actually you summarize, it's actually talking about the noble. Okay, so the whole book is actually based on the noble eightfold path, all the way leading to enlightenment. So we look at the question again. This inner tangle, right? Outer tangle. This generation is entangled in a tangle. So I asked of Gautama this question: who succeed in this entangling this tangle? So this question asked by Deva, who is non-Buddhist, all right? So you want to know what is the inside tangle, means inside attachment, what is outside attachment. Human is a link, is attached to all this attachment. So he want to know who managed to free himself for all this attachment. Okay. Okay, now we go to the first part.
Actually, you can click
Yes.
the page number. Page
Oh yeah,
number
it's reading already. Okay. Okay, it's okay. Reshare already. I also want to show you the pages, So if you don't see the pages, then you might not interested to read. So at least we go through the pages. All right. So this is the question here. But this question is coming from a deity. A deity, he always come to the Buddha at night time. And in order to do away with doubt, he asked this question from the Samyutta, right? Now, based on this question answer, then you can see it's kind of like we call it commentary already. Then the Pali will be trying to explain the tangle, what is the inner tangle, what is the outside tangle, and so on. So the one you see in italic, this is the question here, inner tangle, tangle. Here is explain what is tangle. Then what is inner tangle, right? So it's like we call it, so how we call it, this is how we call it, so we call it word definition. Where tangle, and then right? So first you have the Pali sentence, right? So you can see the Pali sentence just now. Okay. So you have this jata. Okay. So you have the Pali sentence with this and so on. Then after that, then we will ask you the meaning of this Pali, all right? And then the Buddha Gosa will write explanation on this one. So we call this word definition. Yes, Sister Ong?
Sayaji, regarding the first question, may I try to answer the question through my own understanding? Or
Okay.
later? Okay, it says the inner tangle and outer tangle, and then until who succeeds in disentangling this tangle. Can this be also relate to the clinging of the five aggregates, which also relates to the first noble truth of dukkha, suffering?
Okay.
Understanding of the suffering. Is that how we can see this on this question, Sayaji?
If you want to answer five aggregates, then you need to answer all. What is the inner tangle? What is the outside tangle? Then what is the generation? What is entangle? So you have to answer all the questions, then your answer will be complete. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, from here will be word definition. Okay. Now the answer coming here, right? So the blessed one, so this is the answer by the Buddha. And then right. So it's the Buddha Gosa, he say that he will explain some more, relying on the teaching of the dwellers in the great monastery, the Mahavihara. So he will explain all this. What is the meaning of purification, path of purification? He also explained. Now, this is on the Sila book, right? So this book, it has various type of answer. So he will quote from the Dhammapada, he quote from the Majjhima Nikaya, he quoted from the Samyutta Nikaya, and then the Dika Nikaya, right? So this means that based on this book, you find the answer from the different part of the Tipitaka. Okay? So you can find all these Dhammapada verse 277, verse 372. So you can refer back. That's why his work is a commentary work. It's a commentary for the Tipitaka. I now just show you the concept here, and then the answer here, right? Okay. So the first part is like definition. After that, now the second part will be more in detail, right? Sila, what is Sila? And what is Sila? What is the sense of Sila? virtual. What's the characteristic function? This one you can see is more on Abhidhamma here. Okay, this more on the in Abhidhamma you can find the 4 points: characteristic, function, manifestation, and proximate cause. And this benefits always, yeah. This one you can find in the for other texts also. All right. What's the defilements? What's the cleansing here? Okay, there are many answers here, right? Okay, so now there are a few ways to do this book. Okay, one way is if you want to go very detailed, we cannot even finish in this 1 year. All right, if you want to go detail, it's a 700 pages. So what do you want to do? Do you want me just take out the most important point, or we just skip some point about, like, if you notice that in the Sila group, it's talking about the Sila for monks, Sila for those ascetic practicing in the jungle. All these are not applicable to you all right? And also like Sila, I think most of you will know the 5 precept, 8 precept, all this you already know, okay? So I was thinking that we might be able to skip the morality, some part of morality, and we jump to the samadhi, because I think most of you interested in this book because of the meditative method here. So you might as well go for samadhi or go for panya, all right? So in this way, we can save the time, okay? So what do you want me to do?
Enlighten us lah.
How to enlighten?
Sayagyi, I think your suggestion is very good, because when you go into the meditative instructions, then we are able to practice according to the examples given by Sayagyi also. So the samadhi as well as the panya.
Right.
I think it's
so
very important.
samadhi actually in the basic Buddhism, I cover briefly like 40 types of samatha, right? Okay. But the book actually he has explained in detail how to practice the meditation. Basically, you all can pick up the book because it's a handbook for meditators. You can pick up the book and read by yourself. I mean, it's true. But we will go through some of the practice there, right? So maybe I think we still have half an hour time. So we just take up one method there and see how much do you understand from the book, okay? Now it's raining very heavily here. Okay. So let's go back for the So I think this one you can read by yourself, okay? This one will be interesting for you, page 81. Okay, we go for chapter number 3. Kamatana, meditation subject, Gahana from the Ganhati, taking out. Nidesa, all right? Nidesa is one of the interesting, it's a description here. Because Buddha Gosa say he rely on the commentary, ancient commentary. So this is a description from the method taking for others too. Now this concentration, samadhi, is described under the heading of consciousness. In the phrase, develop consciousness and understanding. So we are talking about this one. This consciousness, all right? So samadhi here is under this. So samadhi is under the heading of consciousness. So he actually tried to explain this part, chitta. Now, it should be developed by one who has taken his stand on virtue that has been purified by means of special qualities of fewness or wishes, etc., and perfected by observance of ascetic practices. This is because it's talking to the monks. He's talking about those who will be able to do the ascetic practice. But for lay people, normally don't do this. But it's good for this one also. Okay. So I'll copy and pass information here. So now we're already under the. So we are talking about taking meditations. So by this sentence is this talking about only after somebody has purified his sila, okay, virtue or morality through many qualities like fewness, because all these explained in the previous section in the sila already. Okay, so after that, you need to have this factor first. Then now he said, but that concentration has been shown only very briefly, and so it's not even easy to understand, much less to develop. There is therefore the following set of questions, and purpose of which is to show the method of its development in detail. Now, this is the same thing. Like Sila also have a similar question, like what is Sila? What is concentration? Sila also have this question, what is the sense of the concentration? And Sila also has this one. So this question you always find in any Abhidhamma, any characteristic, any factors in the mental factors need to be observed in four ways: characteristic, function, manifestation, proximate cause. So the samadhi, including the sila, also need to be answered to this 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many types? 40. Okay, what is the defilements? Means that what make the concentration reduce or fall away, and how to purify it, how to cleanse it, how to develop it, and what's the benefits. So if you notice it, the way he arranged it is very systematically, from the definition and what's the meaning and what's the characteristic, function, manifestation, proximate cause, and how many types, how many defilements. Okay, so is here I explain the factors of reducing it, the factors of increasing it, how to develop it, and finally what's the benefits. So if you notice it, the way he write is very systematic. Very systematic. Now, based on the question here, normally in Tipitaka, it's always like, even like commentary, you find it, there's a questions, and based on the question, there will be an answer, right? There's the answer here. For the first question, what is concentration? Okay, concentration is of many sorts and various aspects. An answer is attempted to cover it all will be accomplished neither its intention nor its purpose, and would be slightly to distraction. So now we confine ourselves to the kind intended here, called concentration, profitable unification of the mind. All right. So let's wait. Okay. Now, sometimes when we look at the English, it's not easy to understand. All right. Unification of mind. But when we look at the Pali, it's actually easier. Chitasa ekagata. Right. So what is another translation for ekagata? Anybody know?
One pointedness of mind.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, one pointedness.
So different translator, they will translate different way. So Yanamoni, he translate unification of the mind. So it's better we stick with the, all right. So now the question is, so what is here I talking about samadhi, concentration, right? So what is concentration here? That's the first on question is what? So the answer is, so it's good to go for all this definition. So beside unification of mind, another translation is one pointedness. So very easy. What is concentration? if you have the book with you, you just need to highlight this one. Fortifiable unification of mind. I think this book you can get in last time. Last time a lot of center have this book. Now I try to give you more explanation. What is the sense of concentration? It's a concentration samadhi in the sense of all these are actually more towards the Pali grammar. It's like different. Try to define samadhi in the sense of the samadhana, concentrating, and what it is concentrating, and all this actually is we call it the Pali definition. All right. So that's why this book is not easy to read. First, you have many, like just now, one Pali sentence and many words definition one by one. And beside all this, you also got another one, we call it all this, what is trying to say, all this is, we call it the Pali definition. It just try to define the Pali word samadhi. But when I copy, I think it's also, some of the words also disappear. Even sama, samam, even the samam, the dot is not there. Yeah. So all these are long A. Okay. So this is called Pali definition, right? The Pali definition for the word samadhi.
Etymology.
Okay. Etymology, yeah.
Ah.
So what's the meaning of etymology?
How the word is formed from the root and all that?
Yeah. So etymology is talking about the history, right? History of the Pali word.
Word formation.
Word formation, okay. So, okay. So word formation, Pali definition, right? Pali word definition. So now you have the, just now the sentence, this one we call it the like word definition here. But actually here is after you got the Pali sentence, normally they will have the, we call it the definition for words one by one, okay? And then after that, sometimes you have the etymology, Pali word formation, like you all learn in your Pali class. So that's why if you learn Pali, you'll be able to follow this book easier. But if you never learn Pali, you find that you read this, you get even more headache. Why this centering on consciousness committance? Now consciousness, you know, it's chitta. Why this consciousness committance? Why this one?
Mental factors. Is it
Yes.
mental factors? Mental factors.
So actually this sentence is just trying to tell you what is concentration. It means that the chitta plus the cetasika, you what happened? Place evenly
On a single
rightly
subject.
on a single object. Okay, that's the meaning only. Okay. Okay, that's the meaning of this definition called samadhi. Right. So there's a samadhi means the chitta and chitta is a place, my people are placed evenly. Why you need to use the evenly? Because you need to explain what is this sum. Where is this sum coming from? It's from the word samam, all right? Or sum coming from the word sama, all right? So this either samam or sama, it explain the word sum. Okay, and then this adana. Adana explain the word, this one adi, right? So you got sum plus the word adi. So sum plus adi becomes samadhi, all right? So this is because etymology, try to explain it. So, but without Pali knowledge, it's difficult even to read this sentence, okay? So, but if you be able to, yes?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Just on the samadhi, we can include the uniso manasikara, right? That means we have the right concentration.
No. Samadhi is not yoniso manasikara. They are different factors. Okay. Samadhi is samadhi. Because now we are talking about, that's why this book has a Abhidhamma sense. because
Yes.
it gives very exact information. So Yoniso Manasikara is another one. All right, this is just samadhi.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if people ask you what is samadhi, it's just very simple. You just need to answer from this paragraph. Okay, but when you read yourself, you need to understand from the Pali viewpoint and also from the Abhidhamma viewpoint. Okay, so that's why the Visuddhimagga, if you notice it, it combines the knowledge of Pali, okay, with the Abhidhamma, right? So that's why in Myanmar, after people study the Abhidhamma, they come to Visuddhimagga. And Visuddhimagga is not everybody can read it because it's difficult to read. You need to have good Abhidhamma and good Pali. Okay, so now I know don't scare you all, but if you really want to understand every in detail, you really need to have some Pali knowledge. And even like you look at this, you don't understand. So the best is look for the original Pali. Yes, Father Ko? Yes.
The consciousness concomitant, does it include rupa? Because rupa is also actually a concomitant.
No. This is
No.
Chitta and Cetasika. No, Samadhi is a mental state. All right? It's
Mental
nothing to
state.
do with, yeah, it's a Cetasika itself. Ekagata is one of the Cetasika, right? So Chitta and Cetasika here, right? So for this sentence, maybe let's say if we try to analyze it from the Pali, is it easier to read? Let's say we try it, hopefully. Let's read. Actually, Visuddhimagga, the Pali is very difficult to read also. So, and this is a Sila. This is a Dutanga, the ascetic practice. So we already skipped this Sila and Dutanga. Now we're on the third chapter, Kamatana, right? So now the question, what is Samadhi, right? Just now the question we saw just now, how many? Few questions here. Now there's the answer here. Okay, now. Okay, now this is the question. This is the Pali here. So I just copy the Pali for you to understand. Okay. Now this is the English translation. So let's look at the Pali here. Okay. What is Samadhi? Samadhinana Samadhi. You know, it try to explain what is Samadhi by the definition, right? So Eka Aramana, single object, Chitta and Cetasika, the consciousness and committance, Samam Sama, it try to explain this evenly and rightly Sama, Adana. Adana is placing together. The meaning of Adana means tapat. From the word tapati, right? Tati or tapati, right? No, tapana, right? So when you read the Pali, that's why if you look at the Pali with English, it might be easier to understand rather than just focus on the English, okay? So if you'll be able to get the Pali and the English translation is easier. But to read the Pali, you need to have some Pali knowledge also, okay? So far that's why this book is not easy. You need to have some Pali knowledge. You need to some Abhidhamma knowledge. And this book is not easy to be translated into English or Chinese. Do you think you read so far, you think that is it easy to translate the Pali like this? It's not easy, okay? In Myanmar, there's a lot of translation being done by the teacher. They write in Burmese. Okay, now we continue, all right? So this only answer the third question, all right? Now, normally anything need to be, and on all the mental states, sorry, you need to answer for the characteristic function, manifest. This is same like any other Abhidhamma book you will find this. Concentration, function, manifestation, cosmic cause. All right, it has the answer. I think this one you'll be able to understand by yourself because it's not so difficult to read. I studied this book many years already, but the first time I read, I also cannot understand. It's difficult to read. So, characteristic, function, manifestation, and then the cosmic cause. Now, characteristic, what's the meaning of characteristic? Characteristic means that how you in what way can you see the concentration? But let's admit that when somebody has concentration, the mind is non-distracting, right? The mind is not distracted to other objects. So that's the characteristic. And what is the function? What's the purpose? What is the task? Function means the task. To same thing, you got the distraction, so it's the eliminate the distraction. Manifested, how does it show? Manifestation means like showing as a non-wavering. And what is the proximate cause? Means that when somebody has bliss, what is bliss? Do you know what is the bliss in Pali? Do you know what is the
I
Pali
think
word for bliss?
piti ke?
No.
Sukha.
Yes, sukha, all right? So that's why we need to look at the original Pali, because if not, there's always different translation. Okay. I copied the Pali here. Of course, now we are not on the Pali class. And also, it's not easy to teach this one. Okay.
Ya, sukha masa pada tanang.
So this one, you learn Abhidhamma, you learn Lakkhana, characteristic,
Characteristic.
Lasa, function, Pachupatthana, manifestation, Padathana is a proximate cause. Proximate cause is something that causes it, right? So this one, Avikapana, Kipana, right? And then the proximate cause is Sukha. So that's why Sukha have few translation, right? Sometimes people translate Sukha as bliss, all right? Sometimes another translation is peacefulness. Because it's true, when the mind is peaceful, the mind can concentrate faster. So if you want to get concentration, make sure you get this cosmic cause. All right? Okay, so we will continue. And how many kinds? Okay, now, that's why this book will give you lots of information. How many kinds of concentration? There are one kind, there are two kinds, there are three kinds, there are four kinds. How many? Yeah. More. Okay, so four, and there are five kinds, all right? So all these are very detailed, very, very detailed. I think you, unless you go for Abhidhamma book, you will not find so detailed in from the Sutanta. It's actually get all the information for Sutanta, and it try to even analyze it. Even one simple question like this, it try to break into many answers. That's why they praise the Buddha Gosa is just like the Bodhisattva Maitreya, because he can find so many answers. I think so far this is not so important yet for the meditation.
Actually, I think the main point is this bliss lah. I think we have always been trained the wrong way, for me anyway.
What long way? Yeah.
Because
Okay.
Some monks have gone under, they ask you to concentrate so much until it becomes a torture. No? So there's no bliss there. That's the wrong approach. I think I think the monks don't know how to teach. Yeah, it's true. That's why I wasted my time in meditation. Now I'm reading the book. There's a difference, no?
Yeah, you can. That's why it's good when you study the Sutanta, and it's good when you go for Abhidhamma, right? So, but when you go for Abhidhamma is so dry that you might not get the answer, because Abhidhamma is only, if you really notice Abhidhamma, people will get scared with all the numbers, right? You know, but at least if you come to this kind of book, it gives you more explanation. Like just now, what is the proximate cause for concentration is bliss. Okay, so if you really want to get concentration, you know what happened? Like me, I find that if I wake up in the early morning, I take a shower, I switch on the fan, make sure my body very cold. I like cold weather. I like cold fan. I like aircon, but here the electricity is very bad and no aircon. So I find that I'll be able to get concentration easier, right? So we can find the suitable condition for ourselves. Because some people like hot, some people like cold. So you find your preference. For me, I find that if I sit in a meditation hall with hundreds of meditators, I don't feel comfortable. because there will be a lot of funny noise, you know. The meditator is walking all the time, and sometimes another person will go and sneeze, and then the footsteps sound, and then in Myanmar, because here is different culture, very different culture. So that okay, now we already 1.5 hour, we just do some chit chat here. Now different place have different culture. For us, we are Malaysian, we actually live with fan 24 hours. Do you notice that? Because here is very humid, hot and wet, right? Here in Myanmar, people don't turn on the fan, especially in the raining season like now, especially in the winter. So I've been to one meditation center, and it was the hole is quite low, so the air is actually not good. All right. So, and of course, you know, lots of mosquito, lots of mosquito. So the moment I turn on the fan, to me, I like it. Yeah, it will be having bliss for me, having sukha for me. I will sit nicely, because you know when you put down the mosquito net, it's actually very hot. Without mosquito net, I cannot do it, because the mosquito will bite me. It's really, the mosquito here is very scary. The moment they bite, it's really very painful. And they don't bite only one, they bite many times. One mosquito can cause 10 times, you know, so it's not easy to chase the mosquito. So I put myself in the mosquito net, I turn on the fan facing me nicely. I thought I had some bliss because my body feel comfortable. But at that moment, all the old Burmese lady, they look at the fan. So when they look at the fan, do you know what's the meaning?
Yeah.
What's the meaning? They look at the fan.
Yeah, please switch off the fan.
Yeah, right. They tell me please switch off the fan. So I feel very uncomfortable, you know. I mean, I enjoy it, but I cannot have any samadhi or any bliss when, you know, the old lady, they don't like it, right? So I switch off the fan, then I go inside a mosquito net. So at that time, it's very hot, because the hole is very packed with the things now. So it's very hot, and I inside the mosquito net. Unfortunately, the mosquito also inside the mosquito net with me. So how to get concentration in this kind of circumstances, right? So I find that I be able to practice well when I go to a meditation hall with nobody. And I like to sit under the open space, you know, with the wind blowing. Like now my center, we have a meditation hall up there, I can go anytime. You know, now we also build the pagoda, it's very nice. So from far I can see the pagoda with the open space. So I can even practice space kasina because I can see the space all the time, you know. So different people have different environment they need for meditation, right? So for if you find that you feel comfortable practicing alone in your own room, you might progress faster in your own room rather than you train yourself to go to meditation hall. But the one advantage of going to meditation hall is you have the meditation teacher to help. Okay, that's one advantage. But of course now with the online Zoom and then the online WhatsApp, whatever, people are having more chances as to access the advice, to get the advice from meditation teacher rather than last time. Last time is like if you want to get teachers advice, you must go to meditation hall, must pay respect, and then sometimes the monks or nuns are so busy, you need to make appointments for few weeks in advance, right? Okay, so now I think you're having lots of advantage, but sometimes when you have the access to too many teachers, you might also get so confused, right? The saying is how many? Too many cooks spoil the broth. Why? Because too many meditation teacher, you don't know which method to practice, right? So the best is if you really got a chance to access this kind of book, I find it's very good. You know, it's very logic. The teaching, if you notice, is very systematic and very logic. So you can read yourself and then think about it. Okay. So and that's why I show with the screen sharing on the actual text on the Visuddhimagga, because I noticed another monk, he's a Pao, now he's teaching also Visuddhimagga. He's showing the PowerPoint, all right, with short notes. But I think most of you are be able to read English very well, maybe much better than me. So it's better you all read the book. So I just show you which one is important, and we discuss according like this method. So you all can read the book because it's already available in PDF, right? So it's in a way, so I guide you all by yourself reading. Okay, read yourself. That's the best way. Okay, now we are going to finish it. So everybody turn on your video and microphone. So we do the Buddha Sasana Chirantita. Okay? Okay, so we share the merits first. Okay. Okay. Imano punya bagam sabba satanam dema. Ida imano punya bagam sabba satanam dema. Imano punya bagam sabba satanam dema. So may all the sentient beings who need the merits be able to get access of these merits. Okay. And we finish with Buddha Sasana Chirantita. Okay. Buddha Sasanam Chirantitatu. Buddha Sasanam Chirantitatu. Buddha Sasanam Chirantitatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, all right. Okay, see you next week. I hope you enjoy this session. So if you want to give me some personal feedback, you can message me. All right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay, thank you.
Sayagyi. Thank you so much for the teaching. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Sayagyi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Take care,
Okay,
everybody. Bye-bye.
Sayagyi,
Bye-bye.
you mentioned